Hi, I'm Jim Self and welcome to my garage. Here today on behalf of Bel-Ray Marine, we're going to walk through the basic steps of winterizing a Sterndrive. Sterndrives is very critical for proper winterization. If it's not done properly, you risk the damage of frozen engine blocks, manifolds. It can be very costly. So we're going to walk through the materials here. First, you need a non-toxic RV antifreeze. We recommend polypropylene because it's non-toxic, so when you flush this out in the spring, you're not going to do harm to the environment. Oil, engine oil. This application requires 5 quarts or a 25W40 high performance. And an oil filter. This particular engine has 2 options. The standard 57801 that fits all the V8s and inline 4 cylinders. We also have a high performance version that's a little taller, and that's what we're probably going to use in this application today. Fuel water separator, we recommend 10 micron filter media, which is what you'll find in all the Bel-Ray filters. This is the SV37801 that fits this application. All-in-one fuel treatment for stabilizing the fuel. This 4-ounce bottle treats 40 gallons, and that'll cover this application more than enough. Waterproof grease, this is the Bel-Ray extreme pressure waterproof grease. We're going to be using this on the engine coupler, drive shaft splines, the U-joints and gimbal bearing. A drain pan for the draining the lower unit, as well as our high performance gear oil to refill the drive, and a pump. This particular unit we're going to need about 2 quarts. 6-in-1, we're going to be using this as the fogging oil. And then with inboards and stern drives, it's very challenging to get the oil out of the crankcase. Some instances you can slide the pan under the engine and catch the oil, but it can be very tight and difficult, and there's always the risk of spillage in your boat, which you don't want. So the most common way to remove the oil is either a cheap drill pump like this that attaches to a drill and you can pump it out through the dipstick, which can be very time consuming, or you can splurge and go with a bucket pump like this. This particular one's from Johnson Pump. Has an electric motor here that connects to the battery, and it pumps the oil directly out of the dipstick hole into the pail for easy disposal. So this is the basic materials. A lot of hand tools will go through as we go into the steps, but let's get started. Okay, the first step to any winterization, of course, is treating the fuel. So this boat's got about a 40-gallon tank, which this 4-ounce bottle treats 40 gallons. So we're going to dump this in. We'll let that get mixed in. Then we're going to start the engine up, let it warm up, work that fuel treatment through the fuel system, warm up the engine oil and the gear oil to make it easier to pump out and change. So get the water flowing, and then we're going to get started. Okay, we have the engine all warmed up and we're ready to withdraw the engine oil out of the crankcase. So we're going to pull the dipstick out. We're going to insert the suction hose from the oil pump down into the dipstick until it reaches the bottom and bottoms out. And then we're going to just hook the power up and let this thing run. Now we're pumping the oil out. I'm going to go ahead and get the gear case draining and get that started while we wait for the engine oil here to finish up. So while we're letting the engine oil drain, we're going to go ahead and drain the gear case. So we want to start by removing the bottom drain plug here with the flathead screwdriver. And remove the top vent. let this drain out for a while and then we'll be ready to refill it. Okay, now the drive unit is fully drained. We're going to go ahead and refill this. So we start out by screwing the lube pump into the bottom fill hole. Well, I already installed new gaskets on the both the vent and fill drain plugs and have those ready, and we're just going to pump this until we see a little bit of oil to start to come out the vent here. Alright, now you see the oil starting to trickle out of there. We're going to go ahead and put the vent screw back in. Remove the drain, the fill tube here, and then put that back in quickly. Try to minimize the amount of loss. And tighten those up nice and firmly with a screwdriver. Alright, now the gear oil's changed. We're going to go ahead and remove the stern drive and then service the U-joints, lubricate the drive shaft splines, the gimbal bearing, and inspect the bellows. Remove the outdrive. We've cleaned the old gasket off. Now we're ready to reinstall a new outdrive gasket set. This particular one is by an aftermarket parts company called EMP. I like this gasket set because it's a good quality material and it's got an anti-stick coating on it, so I'm not going to have to scrape the old one off next time. This particular unit has the oil passage for the reservoir inside the transom here, so you got to make sure this hole is to the right hand side so it lines up with the port. Go ahead and slide that on. Then next we're going to install the quad ring. This goes inside the bell housing here. Make sure that's nice and flat and bottomed out in there. And finally we're going to change the O-rings on the drive shaft of the unit here. Put a new O-ring on the water passage. Once that's done, we're just going to inspect the bellows, make sure we don't see any cracks or tears there. There could be problems down the road. And this happens to have the permalube U-joints on it, so we don't need to lubricate those. And then we'll be ready to slide the drive back on. Okay, we got the drive unit on. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the nuts. Put the belt cylinder back on. Torque these down. And the drive unit service is complete. Alright, we've completed servicing the outdrive. We've got the oil pumped out of the engine. Next step is we're going to go ahead and replace the oil filter and the fuel water separator filter, and then we're going to fill the crankcase with oil. Once that's done, we'll get the engine started up, check for leaks, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, the next step is we're going to go ahead and replace the fuel water separator on the engine. We're going to go ahead and put the service date on the filter canister here. We've coated the gasket with a light coat of oil. And we're going to remove the old filter. Again, you're dealing with gasoline here, so make sure you're nowhere near any open flames or anything that creates spark, so no smoking. Okay. I've put some rags underneath the filter to catch any spillage there may be. So, just like with an oil filter, you want to tighten that down to the gasket bottoms out, then give it about 3/4 of a turn. Want to clean up any fuel spillage. Make sure we keep this aerated. We don't want any fuel vapors to build up in here, which could potentially create an explosion when we start this up later. So, okay, now we're ready to fill the crankcase. So we're going to remove the cap here on the valve cover. I'm going to sort of funnel there just to make sure we don't have much in the way of spillage. This particular engine holds 5 quarts, so we're using the Bel-Ray High Performance 25W40 engine oil. Okay, we got the oil changed, oil filters changed. Next step is we're going to go ahead and fog the engine. So we have to remove the flame arrestor here. We'll spray some fogging oil in here with the engine running until we hear the engine start to stumble, see some white smoke, and then the engine will be thoroughly fogged. Look things over a little bit here for some oil leaks, and now we're ready to fog the engine. So we're just going to spray the Bel-Ray 6-in-1 oil directly into the throat of the carburetor. Okay, you can hear the engine start to stumble. We're seeing white smoke out the exhaust. So that takes care of fogging the engine. We'll place the flame arrestor here. Then we'll go on to the final step, and that's draining the engine block and manifolds and refilling them with antifreeze. All right, now we're down to one of the final steps here, and one of the most crucial. The next step is going to be to drain the freshwater cooling system on the engine. That's the exhaust elbows, the exhaust manifolds, and the engine block, as well as any power steering coolers or any auxiliary coolers on here. It's absolutely critical because that's what can freeze and bust. So we're going to drain those thoroughly. We have drain plugs on each elbow on this engine. We have one on each side of the manifolds. Then we have one on each side of the engine block here. And this is a power steering, has a power steering cooler, so we're going to pull the hose off of that. It's going to be difficult to see down in here, but once we have that thoroughly drained, we're going to refill that system then with this non-toxic antifreeze. This is good for 50 below. This will help prevent any freezing of any water that may be trapped inside, and it also helps prevent any corrosion from occurring while this is setting in storage. So, okay, we just went through all the basic steps of winterizing a inboard or Sterndrive. Be sure to always check your owner's manual for specific details on any unusual things that apply to your specific engine. But once you complete these steps, the boat's ready to go into storage. You don't have to worry about any issues come spring. Pull it out, start it up on a garden hose, make sure everything's good, charge up the batteries, and you're ready to go boating. Be sure to go to belray.com for more information on our complete product line and to find a dealer or retailer near you. Also be sure to subscribe to our Bel-Ray YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching In Jim's Garage.